Brand new Dynasty ADP. We're talking that and more today on Locked On Dynasty.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here are your hosts, Matt Williamson and Ryan McDowell.
Thanks for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Welcome to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan McDowell. You can follow me on Twitter at RyanMC23. Joining me, as always, is Matt Williamson. Find Matt on Twitter at WilliamsonNFL. Matt, how's it going today?
It is going fantastic. How about yourself?
Going well here. Also ready to talk more Dynasty, and it's one of my favorite days. We've got some brand new Dynasty ADP, Matt, as you know, and maybe as our listeners know as well. I've been collecting ADP for Dynasty League Football for 10 years now, and when I started doing that so many years ago, it was not the norm, right? You can find Dynasty ADP a lot of places now, but we were kind of the first to really
ahead of your time, man.
Yeah. And one thing that I did that I thought was important, and we still do, is we collect in-season ADP. And sometimes I kind of get some eyebrows raised when I say we're doing in-season mocks, and people think that's a little weird, but you know, us Dynasty guys are a little weird anyway. So
a little bit.
We are wrapping up our October mock drafts, and the past few weeks we've been referencing that preseason ADP that we collected in September right before the season started. But now we've got some new data, and so I think the really good thing about this is that we do have in-season data to represent the changes that we've seen. The bad news with it is it's hard to keep up with what's happening day to day and week to week in the NFL. We started these mock drafts and started collecting this data right before week 4. And then, of course, week 4 comes and Javonte Williams tears up his knee and he's done for the year. So his ADP is already, it's already kind of old news.
A little bit, yeah.
Right. But I think we're able to look at that and kind of read the situation a little bit. But today, as we always do on Wednesdays, we're talking Dynasty player value. And today specifically, we're talking new October Dynasty ADP from Dynasty League Football. We'll do the quarterbacks and running backs today. We'll hit on those pass catchers next week and reveal the top 10 at each position. I did want to throw in really quickly, Matt, before we get too far here. We talked waivers yesterday, and after we recorded, we got the news on Latavius Murray that he was being scooped up by the Denver Broncos. We talked about Mike Boone and kind of the Broncos options. Latavius Murray looks like a good one now. I would certainly value him ahead of Mike Boone. And honestly, we mentioned the struggles on Melvin Gordon yesterday. I think I would almost rather have Murray than Melvin at this point.
Wow. I hadn't thought of it from that angle. I did do some more homework on it, and Boone was very involved in the passing game, which I didn't realize when we recorded it as much as, he's an okay receiver.
Right.
Gordon has a lot of fumbles, and he's also fighting a little bit of a nagging injury too. So maybe Murray is the one to own.
I still think Boone is worth a waiver pickup this week as we kind of sort out that situation. The other thing I had to throw in, I feel like a crazy person. We were talking the best and worst teams in the NFL, and I didn't even mention the Philadelphia Eagles. So certainly they look like the crop of the NFL right now through the first month.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. Let's get on to the top 10 Dynasty quarterbacks. We do have a few changes here, and one of those Philadelphia Eagles is chief among those. Quarterback 1, Josh Allen. No real surprise there. Off to another very strong start. Here's a change. Quarterback 2 is now Lamar Jackson. He has moved up from that preseason range of somewhere between, it typically was 4 or 5 most of the months leading up to the season. But he's off to another huge start, being compared to his MVP season of a couple of years ago. So he's gained some value. Justin Herbert is there at 3, Patrick Mahomes at 4. So it's, for the most part, it's status quo. We've talked several times about those guys being locked in, but here comes the change at 5 and 6. Jalen Hurts has moved into that group of elite quarterbacks, and he's actually jumped ahead of Kyler Murray. And through the first month, I'm okay with that. That's what my rankings look like right now as well. I know you've been a little hesitant on Hurts,
not anymore,
and his future. And yeah, you've already mentioned it on here over the past couple of weeks that you're starting to buy in. It's hard not to at this point. Would you go this far though? Would you put Hurts above Kyler Murray, or maybe even above some of these others?
That's a tough one. I think I would have Mahomes over Herbert, and I don't know. Hurts versus Herbert for me is a tough one, because I think it goes without saying that what we know now that we didn't know rock solid in concrete is Hurts is going to be the Eagles starting quarterback next year. You know, I mean, like I can't imagine any scenario now that they don't, want him back in the biggest way and don't even challenge him. So that was my only reservation, not his ability to churn out, fantasy points. I think the top 6 are pretty clear, and I would draw a line under them, but
I totally agree.
Yeah, I think that's pretty close to my list as well. I think I'd have Mahomes over Herbert, though.
So we do agree those top 6 locked in, and maybe you can shuffle the order around a little bit. Mahomes up, Herbert down, maybe even Hurts jumping ahead of a couple of those guys. Kyler Murray feels like he's locked in at 6 right now. Quarterback 7 is Joe Burrow. No real surprise there, I don't think. But here's where the shakeup begins. And we talked about this, I think, after the first week or two.
Yeah.
Who is next? Who's that quarterback 8? And I think at that point we settled on Trevor Lawrence, and that's who it is in our ADP as well. Second-year guy after a little bit of a rough start in week 1. He has played really well over the past couple weeks, and he's kind of locking himself into really what we thought he would be. And I mean, this is an example where the coaching staff is making all the difference, getting rid of that, just that disaster from his rookie season and now playing for Doug Peterson.
I think Burrow stands alone at 7. Another note on Lawrence is it wouldn't shock me if their first round pick next year is a wide receiver. Like they may add one more weapon for him, make Kirk the 2 and Zay Jones the 3. And that could really boost his stock too. Yeah.
Very good point. They definitely could use another weapon there, another option. Quarterback 9, Deshaun Watson. Obviously we have not seen him play yet, but I think almost by process of elimination, he's gaining value. We've seen Justin Fields fall off this list. He was a former top 10 dynasty quarterback. Trey Lance, a former top 10 dynasty quarterback. He has obviously fallen off due to the injury. And then those veterans, Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, all 3 of those have been top 10 guys in recent months, and they're just not deserving of it anymore. And honestly, we'll probably never get back to that type of value. So Watson, we know the talent is there. Of course, it's been kind of a hands-off situation with the suspension. I mean, the closer we get to week 13, I guess it is.
Right. Already at 5.
Yeah. The more his value is going to increase. Could pretty easily see him moving ahead of Lawrence, ahead of Burrow, maybe even because he is that talented. And quarterback 10, Dak Prescott. Obviously, the injury has hurt his value, but looks like he's going to be back sooner than expected. He's hanging out here at 10. I would say that's kind of process of elimination as well. I don't know who else it would be. It's not Russell Wilson. It's not Tua. Right. It's not Fields.
I'm thinking the young guys. It's not Pickett yet. I mean, it's not Tua?
No,
I don't think. Right.
Well, I don't think it was Tua before the concussions, and I certainly don't think it's Tua now. So
he's just put up good numbers this year. So I threw him out there.
Right.
Watson might be a little low, though. I mean, if you can withstand 8 more weeks, I think you're right that top 6 might become a top 7 before you know it. And in quarterback years, that's not the same as running back. I mean, okay, I don't have him for 8 more weeks. I'll start Derek Carr or Cousins or somebody. Wait for him to come back, and then I have him for the next 10.
Yeah, very good point. Overall, no real arguments from us on these top 10 quarterbacks. Again, it was Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts at 5, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson at 9, and Dak Prescott. Those are your top 10 Dynasty quarterbacks as of October DLF Dynasty ADP. When we come back, we'll talk about the running back position.
Guys, as you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. I mean, clearly, if I was looking for a job or looking to hire, this is the only place I would look. You can create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. And then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to add. Simple tools like screening questions, they make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So here's what you do. So LinkedIn Jobs helps you to find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL, all one word. It's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply.
We're back. We are revealing brand new Dynasty ADP today, and we're moving on to the running back position. Let's talk about these top 5 guys for starters, Matt. Again, no surprise at the top. It's Jonathan Taylor. I think maybe you could argue that now with the injury, his slow start, but I don't know if anybody's knocking him off the hill yet. Again, unless you're in the Devy League, we talked about that a couple weeks ago as well. Maybe it's Bijan
Robinson.
It's Bijan Robinson coming for the title. But other than that, we've got JT at the top. DeAndre Swift is the RB2. Christian McCaffrey, RB3, still hanging on there. And here's one of the changes we talked about. RB4 currently, as of right now, Javonte Williams. And RB5 is Saquon Barkley. So, Matt, of course, we've got to focus this conversation on Javonte Williams. We touched on the injury yesterday, obviously out for the season and a great impact to his value. And we'll get to the other names on this list. I know you already know them. Right now, would Javonte Williams still be in your top 10 dynasty running backs? Looking at this list and these names we'll get to soon.
Are we including non-NFL players on that top 10? I would say if the answer is no, yes, then I don't think Williams would be in my top 10.
Yeah, we'll leave out the Devies, the college players for now. Obviously, they factor in, especially if you're trading Williams for future picks. That's obviously a big consideration, and we know we like that running back class, not just Robinson, but Jahmyr Gibbs, Zach Evans. There's a few guys that would certainly be a nice return if you're moving Javonte. But for now, just what we're dealing with in the NFL, does he even deserve a top 10 spot right now?
I think so, but a lot of these guys' stock is not soaring right now. I mean, even Jonathan Taylor at 1, the offensive line in Indianapolis is terrible. I mean, really a problematic offense top to bottom.
Yeah.
Swift is injured. That doesn't set me back too much on him, but he's had some injuries over the years. McCaffrey's in one of the worst offenses in the league. So his competition isn't as brutal as it usually I think it would be in, week 4, week 5 of an NFL season. So I think I'd keep him in the top 10, but right around 10. Like, I think I'd rather have Nick Chubb.
Yeah, running back value is certainly down. There's really no arguing that. And in fact, as we look at the top 10, 15, 20 running backs, I think it's pretty clear Breece Hall is gaining dynasty value.
Yes.
Saquon Barkley is bouncing back in a big way. He's gaining dynasty value, in my opinion. That might be the end of the list as far as guys that are significant gainers. Nick Chubb has been,
I would say Chubb.
Nick Chubb has been very good. Still, though, he kind of is what we thought he was, right? I mean, he's running the ball. He's racking up 100-yard games. We're hoping he scores a touchdown, because if he doesn't, he's going to give you, 13.2 fantasy points in the game or something like that. Right. He's just not going to catch that many passes. So as good as Chubb has been on the ground, it's what we expected him to be. And
there's
those
no
veterans
have change with him, really. You're right.
Right. The veterans have, they've been okay, right? I mean, and that's the best we can say. Austin Eckler's been catching passes. McCaffrey has been, reaching 100 total yards, but it's just not the type of production that we are used to from these guys. And top to bottom, the running backs have been losing value. If we were doing a startup, we're talking about these mock drafts, Matt. If we were doing a startup that was taking place right now, knowing what we know 4 weeks in, how many running backs would even be first rounders in a dynasty startup draft?
Wow. Fewer than I would have expected, for sure. I mean, are you taking most of these guys ahead of Kyle Pitts and Andrews? I'm taking all of them still over Allen in a standard league.
Sure.
But I could come up with a lot of receivers I would take over Javonte Williams for sure, or over Najee Harris, or over Eckler or Cook. I mean, there's probably a dozen of them. So I'm going to say 5 running backs maybe
in the first round.
Does that sound like a lot to you?
Yeah, that sounds like a lot to me.
Okay.
I think Taylor would still be there.
Yeah.
The list dries up really quickly for me.
It does. Yeah. I mean, the more I think about it.
Right. You can make a case that Barkley's a top 12 overall asset. You can make a case, if you're thinking long-term, that Breece Hall is a top 12 guy.
Hall's an interesting one to me, because he's starting to really, in case people haven't figured it out, he's starting to really grab that backfield by the throat.
Yeah, I mean, his workload is increasing, his playing time. I mean, the snaps, targets, everything increasing for Breece Hall. He's getting a larger share of that, where he was behind Michael Carter the first couple of games. So, yeah, I feel like it would be 3 at the most, honestly, in the first round, and you can throw in 1 or 2 tight ends, and the rest are going to be receivers.
Pitts is garbage right now. You know what I mean? Like, I have him in all my leagues.
Notice I didn't say which tight end.
I know,
one or two.
That's why I was coming up with names. Like, would you take AJ Brown over 7 of these backs we've mentioned?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'd take AJ Brown over 9 of these guys we're going to talk
about. So maybe Taylor's the only one you would not.
Right. And I think even he's a question, because the start to this season, and it's not all doom and gloom here. These guys are still going to have big games. They're still going to produce, but we're seeing we're kind of seeing the reality.
It's been really slow though.
But we're seeing the reality of what dynasty value looks like when these players get off to this slow start, and they can fall off quickly. So those are your top 5 running backs: Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, or as Matt likes to say, Taylor Swift, Christian McCaffrey at 3, Javonte Williams at 4. We know that one will be changing. Sure. Saquon Barkley at 5. When we come back, we will hit on the next 5 running backs in our brand new Dynasty ADP. Thanks again for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen every day. Make sure you check out NFL Key Predictions every Friday on Locked On NFL. Locked On's local experts give you the inside scoop on the 5 biggest games of the NFL weekend, including Sunday and Monday Night Football, plus betting advice from the field's leading experts, Bet Online. Follow NFL Key Predictions every Friday on Locked On NFL, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast.
I've told you guys a bunch about betonline.net, and they are easily your number one source for betting football this season. I check it out every day, to be honest with you. I mean, find out all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting, up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events. Major League Baseball playoffs right around the corner here, MMA, boxing, golf, of course, NFL, and so much more. Head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Matt, let's finish up that running back conversation. We had Taylor Swift, McCaffrey, Javonte Williams, and Barkley in our top 5. The next 5 running backs 6 through 10 for our brand new Dynasty ADP from Dynasty League Football. Breece Hall, RB6. I would argue he should be even higher on that list. Najee Harris is RB7. I would go the other way. I think he's probably deserves to be lower. Nick Chubb at RB8, Austin Eckler and Dalvin Cook, couple of veterans from that class of 2017, round out the top 10. So we've got some big names not on this list. Alvin Kamara, another guy from that rookie class who's off to a slow start outside of the top 10. Really just so many others. Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
You could put them both in this same tier. So 6 through 10, what stands out to you there, Matt?
I mean, would you take Najee Harris in the top 20 picks in a startup?
I would not, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he's hard.
Yeah,
man.
He's certainly not a first rounder. I've been kind of on that train for a while now. I don't think he's a second rounder either. Honestly, I participate in all of these mocks, and I try to mix up strategy and I don't want to go after the same player as I don't want to impact the ADP too much. If just chasing Juju Smith-Schuster and everyone or anything like that. But it's been hard to take running backs in the first 2 or 3 or 4 rounds at all. I found myself coming away with 3 wide receivers and a tight end in the first 4 rounds. And that felt like the optimal strategy in almost every case. So looking at these players and knowing that the production is going to be up and down, the value in almost every case is going the wrong direction. I really don't want almost any running back in the top 2 rounds.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are tough sells right now. And I do think that there is some stock down to them that a lot of these guys will rebound. I would include Kamara and Mixon right in this mix as well. I would not include Derrick Henry. I mean, if you had Mixon or Kamara in your top 10, I would 100% understand. And maybe I'd even rather have them than Javonte, considering the severity of his injury as well. But Breece Hall kind of stands out to me here as and a little bit of that is just the unknown, the excitement of the unknown, what could be. I mean, if he really does grab this backfield, which it looks like he's in the process of, he's the one that I think I'm buying at ADP right now of this group, but it's a tough sell.
Yeah, it really is. And obviously Breece Hall, just 4 games into his career has age on his side. And you look at Najee Harris and he's only in his second year. So you think he's got plenty of time left, but the reality is he was old for a rookie. You could, I think it would be a fair argument that the Jets are on the way up. They're not there yet.
Probably,
but they're a team that I feel like is getting better, where the Steelers might be going the wrong direction, unfortunately. And, it just feels
they're not
like
throwing to him anymore either.
Right. That's the other piece that PPR upside that was there last year doesn't seem to be really an option this year. So, I mean, Breece Hall versus Najee Harris is not even a conversation for me.
Right.
I think Breece Hall versus Jonathan Taylor is probably even closer.
Yes, or Swift, or you know what I
Right.
mean, Barkley. You know, those guys to me are the ones that are desirable. I'm sure you're familiar with Dwayne McFarland's work. I think he's one of the best fantasy people out there, and he says this better than I do. But the archetype for backs are explosive, meaning break the long one, and catch passes. Well, if Harris is neither of those now, I mean, that's brutal. He's never going to be explosive. Chubb's never going to catch passes. How much longer is Ekeler and Cook and Kamara able to do those things? Hall at least has both those on his side.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, age on his side as well.
Mm-hmm.
Breece Hall, the RB6 in our ADP, but I would argue he deserves to be as high as RB2, if not challenging for that top spot.
I prefer Swift with that offensive line, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe Barkley too.
Yeah. I think those are the four, right?
Agreed.
I think those are the four that should be in the top four. So we really liked the quarterback list. We had some disagreement with our ADP data on the running backs, but that's kind of part of the game, right?
This one's subject to change though, more than the quarterback list.
For sure. One more time, the top 10 dynasty running backs for October: Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, McCaffrey, Javonte Williams, Barkley, Breece Hall, Najee Harris, Nick Chubb, Austin Ekeler, and Dalvin Cook. Thanks for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson give you the expert NFL analysis in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. That is it for today's show. Please make sure you download and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to the Locked On Dynasty channel on YouTube. Remember to follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Dynasty. Follow Matt at Williamson NFL, and I'm Ryan MC23. We'll be back next time with more Locked On Dynasty.